Today we're crocheting these little granny squares with hearts in them for Valentine's Day or whatever love-centered holiday you are decorating for. You're going to need a hook, of course. I'm using Simply Soft. It suggests an H hook and I'm using I. Perhaps just go up one hook size from whatever your yarn is suggesting. I really like Simply Soft. Not everybody loves to work with Simply Soft, but I think it has a really nice drape, and this is for a wearable and making a sweater. You're also going to need, in addition to your hook, some scissors and a yarn needle for weaving in ends. I'm going to walk you through this nice and slow. If you have any questions or comments, let me know down below. Let's get started with your color A. For me, it's this maroon color. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start with a slip knot. Since I'm assuming you're new, let's start with a slip knot, chain one. If you want to do this in a magic circle, feel free. I usually would, and that video for magic circle, slip knot, and chains, and every other stitch is all available on my channel. I'll link those down below. For your slip knot, you're going to grab the working portion of the yarn, let the tail hang. Wrap around your finger once, around your finger twice, and secure it. Take the bottom strand, put it over the top strand. Take the new bottom strand, pull it all the way over your finger. Replace your finger with the crochet hook, pull the working yarn. Notice I have a little bit of a gap. We are not trying to get a chokehold on your yarn ever. You don't want to hold on to your yarn or your hook too tightly. That's why people get sore hands. We're going to hold on to the tail to keep it secure so we don't lose control of our yarn. We're going to wrap once, pull through to chain one, and we're going to chain 5 times. 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to make a little loop by slip stitching your hook into the first stitch that you chained. Just push through. Grab the yarn, pull through where you just went in, and pull through the strand that is on your hook. Now you have a cute little loop right there that you can crochet into. We're going to chain 1 and 2. Some people would like to chain 3 because this chain counts as your first double crochet. I always chain 2, it just looks better in my work. I find when I chain 3, I am gappy. If you are different and you like to chain 3 to raise up to the level of your double crochet, have at it, no problem on my end. If it works for you and you like that, of course do it. Now, we're going to be using this to close this hole up, this little tail, to close that up later by sewing around it. So don't crochet over your tail just yet, okay? This chain 2 counts as your first double crochet. What we're going to do is make a granny cluster stitch. That's 3 double crochets all together. So that's 1. Here is your next double crochet. And a 3rd. Now let me show you the double crochet. Yarn over, insert into the loop, grab that yarn, draw up a loop, 3 strands on your hook, yarn over, pull under 2, yarn over, pull under 2. Now we have what stands as 3 double crochets, which is a granny cluster. This is going to be one side. Let's move over to the next side by chaining 2, yarn over, and create in that hole another set of granny clusters. So 3 double crochets again. So 1, 2, and 3. You're going to repeat that granny cluster 2 more times. So chain 2, granny cluster, chain 2, granny cluster. There's chain 2. Each of these clusters will form a side of your little square. We now have 3. Last set, that cluster is 3 double crochets. Oops, got my tail in there. And the last one. Chain 1, because I count the slip stitch as one of the chains. So right here you had 2, right here you had 2, right here you had 2. Here you have 1, and when you slip stitch, that'll be my second chain. I slip stitched on the top of the first actual double crochet. Slip stitch into the next, and then slip stitch into the first chain space. We're now starting row 2. So here's the end of row 1. For row 2, we're going to be forming corners in each of our little 2 chain spaces. So for a granny corner, you're going to do cluster, chain 2, cluster. Let's try. Chain 2 counts as your first double crochet in a cluster. 1 more double crochet and a third. Chain 2 and 3 more double crochets in that same chain 2 space. And that is your granny corner. So whenever you have a corner in your granny, one of these, that's a chain 3, and a chain 2. And those are all the way up. And that's how you're going to corner. So this is our increase. Right here on the sides, you're only going to have 1 granny cluster because you don't need to increase there. You'd be going whoo, in a big old round circle. So we're just going to do that for the corner. So that is a granny corner, and this is a side granny cluster. So you've completed your first corner. We need 4 corners in here. We have 1 chain 2, 2 chain 2. Right, here's another chain 2. So that'll give us 4 corners. In order to travel from one to the next, you're going to skip all of these. Chain 1, skip a side, yarn over, and do a corner right into that chain 2 gap. 3 double crochets, chain 2. Oops. I love Simply Soft because it's drapey, but oh, she is a splitty girl. There we go. Last one. And there's your next corner. Let's move to the next chain 2 gap and make another corner. Chain 1, skip 3, go to that next corner and make a granny cluster corner. 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. Now I've chained 1 after my corner because I'm ready for my last corner over here. I'm really eager. We're going to skip your 3, go into the last corner and make a granny corner. 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. Oops. I count my slip stitch as a chain, so I'm not going to worry about chaining after this last double crochet. We're going to slip stitch into the top of the first actual double crochet, not into your chain. So slip stitch right in to end row 2. So that's where we're at so far. We're getting ready for row 3. Now row 3 is where the action happens. It's where the color work comes in. We're going to be going, so here's row 1, here's row 2. We're going to be entering row 3 where we go back and forth in some color. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So we have to get to a corner. Our first corner is going to be this right here. So I'm going to slip stitch to the corner, right into the top of the next double crochet, and then right into that corner that we work in. We're going to make a granny corner in this color 1. And now we're going to make the rest of that corner. There we go. And move this one. Chain 2. Whoop. Okay, now we need to go to color 2. I put the yarn on my hook and I pull through to connect it. I'll take my color 1, tighten it just a bit and put it in the back because we are going to carry that. We're not going to be snipping. Take color that tail, put that in the back. And then we're going to yarn over. And yes, I know it looks kind of loose. We're going to take the yarn that we're going to be working with for the rest of the row, and we're going to double crochet right over it. This is one of those chain stitches where you are not in a corner. All you do here is 3 double crochets. Notice she's still a little bit loose there. Boop, there she is. And then 2 more double crochets. And now we're going to put this light pink in the back, and the next corner is going to be color 1 again. So pull through, that's your chain, tighten up your work. Carry that pink. And we're going to do a corner here. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. You might notice that other color gets a little bunchy. Don't worry about that. A little tug at the end of this stitch and it'll go right away. It's so much easier than having to grab it and figure out where it is. I just like to carry it with me. There we go. Now we're going to this space. This is also from color 1. So we're just carrying this right along with us. Since we didn't change colors, we do have to chain. This is a side stitch, so it just gets one little granny cluster of 3 double crochets. And then we're moving on to the bottom corner. So what we've created so far is this, and this right here is what we just did. So now we need a color 2. Yarn over, pull through with the second color, tighten your color 1 so it's not too gappy, carry it in the back, oops, there we go, double crochet right over that yarn. This is a corner, so 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Last one. Pull that through in case you got any gapping. And we're going to change colors. So drop that second color to the back, grab color 1, put up that loop, and we're going to do just the side stitch. Therefore, it's just going to be 3 double crochets since it's not in a corner. There it is. That's the bottom of your heart. Need to switch back to the light color so we can do the side of the heart, working over that strand, making a corner out of your color 2, which means of course 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Moving on to the next space, we're going back to color 1. Go ahead and pull color 2 underneath so it'll be with us. Three double crochets in this side space. Right there. And then color 2 still back there. We're not done yet though. We do need to finish off this color though. This is the end of color 1 for us, so we're going to fasten that off. Slip stitch into top of your first double crochet, yarn over, pull through, drop a nice big loop for working in later, and snip. Pull through all the way, that's fastening off, and then find your other color right there, and we're just going to be working with that from now. In order to bring that forward, just going to find where it is, and then pull it, put your hook in, draw it up, and chain 1, 2. That's our first double crochet in this side stitch, so we are just going to have 3 double crochets. You're going to work all the way around, putting a corner stitch in each corner and a single granny stitch in each side stitch. I wanted to make a note, and as you approach these colors where you held the yarn, you might see some stranding. You're just going to go right underneath those strands. That way your grannies are still nice and wide open. I'll see you at the end of this row. Chain 1 and into my corner. I'm at my last stitch of row 4, and I'm just going to slip stitch into the top of my chain 2. That counts as my chain 1 in between stitches, and now I'm going to fasten off. Pull up a big stitch, snip the extra yarn, turn over. Going to want to put the very center stitch on a yarn needle and work all the way, oops, forgive me, work all the way around. Go around 2 or 3 times. I do find they're a little prettier though if you give it just a little pull at the end. Oops. If you can get a grip of it. There you go. Weave in your ends. Steam if you like. Mine are steamed. That's why mine is just a little bit flimsier. This is the same hook, the same yarn, but this one has been steamed so it relaxed a little bit, and then I put it on my little granny board. It's right here. And I just spread them out accordingly. I'm loving this yarn. This is the yarn I'm actually using for my granny sweaters. It was just so bright that it did not show up for our tutorial, so I went with the maroon instead. I love my handheld steamer and my board. If you're making a bunch of these, it's pretty low in price, and I think it's totally worth it. So that being said, thanks for stopping in. Let me know what you want to see next. Have a great day and enjoy.